So in case you haven't noticed, we are actually about to cross from greed to extreme greed on the fear and greed index. Of course, it doesn't mean you have to sell out of your portfolio and go 100% cash. That's not the point of this video. But on the other hand, if you completely ignore that and just become an ostrich and absolutely don't do nothing, well, in that case, you might get hammered just as bad. The idea here is not that we're going to sit here and never take any risks and just play it safe. In that case, you can just sit in the money market account, right? Or get a bond. The idea here is we want to take risks, but we want to take calculated risks, and we want to mitigate the risk as much as we can. That's the mantra that I teach in the academy, and that's what I'm about to talk in today's video. Now, again, we are currently at very hypey times. A lot of hype, a lot of FOMO, a lot of excitement, a lot of participation by the retail investing community, which is good. It's not a bad thing to have retail participate in investing. Actually, it's very, very healthy. But when it gets to the point of the shoe shine boy example, when you're having your shoes shine and then the shoe shine boy is asking you about Palantir, well, in that case, you should start to get concerned and you start to mitigate your risk. Of course, it doesn't mean the stock market is about to crash tomorrow, but it also means that, the world works in very cyclical ways. Back in 2017, I was in the kitchenette of a place to work with. And in the kitchenette, I had a really lovely conversation with this older lady who was kind of the office manager. And she told me, look, I've never invested in my life. And I just bought my first Bitcoin. I'm very, very excited. And I remember looking at the price of Bitcoin was $18,000. And I told to myself, this is the beginning of the crash. The crash for Bitcoin is coming. And literally a few weeks later, Bitcoin went down all the way down to $3,000. Now, I've never had Bitcoin in my life, so I was just having popcorn on the sidelines. But when you have all this hype, all this FOMO, it's really prudent to be careful and mitigate and be smart about it. Now, one of the best one-liners I've ever heard about investing is that in bullish cycles and bullish times, investing horizons, they stretch out a lot, right? But when times get tough, and when we're going through bearish cycles, then investing horizons, they tend to shrink. So people have a lot of comfort in being a 10-year investor when things are going great, but when they're looking at a 60% drop in their portfolio, they become very short-sighted, and that's just part of human nature. Now, we're going to drop the soapbox here. We're not going to be talking about, oh, boo-hoo, boo-hoo, boo. That's not the point, right? We dollar cost average. We buy good companies. None of this really matters for us as far as selling and buying. We're not going to time the market. So none of us here in this academy, in my community, is going to be trying to exit the market just before the crash, because as Peter Lynch once said, there's more money lost in waiting for a correction than the corrections themselves. That's not the point. The point is that you do have strategies against FOMO, and you do have strategies to mitigate the risk of whatever it is that is possibly coming, because the cycle is always the same. I've showed it a million times before. We have optimism, then greed, then fear comes back when this thing crashes. So it's a cycle of, you're going up, you're going down, you're going up, you're going down. The market's going to do its thing, right? But overall, over the period of the next 5-10 years, the good companies, they're going to do better and better and better. So how do we use the upcoming correction, whether it's in 2 days or 2 months or 2 years? How do we use that the market is about to punish all the FOMO seekers and shake out a lot of the retail, whether it happens in 2 days, 2 months, or 2 years, I don't care, but at some point it's going to happen. So how do we use that in our advantage? And the answer is quite simple, right? Number one, in case you haven't kind of had this conversation with yourself, you should. And the conversation is very, very simple. Number one, how much of a downturn are you willing to accept in your portfolio, right? If you have made a lot of money investing in great stocks over the past 3 or 4 years, and now you're sitting on a very nice pile of unrealized profits, meaning that you've never tasted the money yourself, how much of it you're ready to see down? 50%, 60%, 70%, right? So if you're not ready for that, you might want to consider to trim 10%, 20%, maybe even 30%, maybe even 40%. It's a personal decision. And when you trim a little bit, then you basically have insurance against a potential correction or a crash, but you're still participating in investing and you're still participating in the game. Now, What we sometimes do in the academy, and this is again a personal decision that everybody has to do for themselves, when we have a specific stock, or in the case of the overall market, let's say the S&P 500, when it is running out of control, and you can set your own definition of what is running out of control is. Up 10% in 30 days, up 20% in 30 days, whatever threshold you choose for yourself. But whenever we have a stock or an index flying out of control, we as dollar cost average investors, meaning we invest at all times, we slow down to half speed and we remain at half speed until the thing cools down a little bit. So just the same way as we're doubling down when the stock drops below the threshold, if the stock goes up above the threshold, we slow down and we still DCA, but we slow it down a little bit and we're a little bit more relaxed because we want to buy more when there's blood. We don't want to be buying more into a parabolic spike, right? The thing here is very, very simple. If you are sitting on a huge amount of profits, trimming a little bit is just responsible, and it's actually going to help you a lot in dealing with a correction when it happens. Number two, slowing down your DCA in case your stock is running flying like crazy, also a good opportunity to actually utilize the way DCA is supposed to be. DCA is where you buy at peak on the bottom and very, very slowly at the top. The main thing to do over the course of the next 6, 12, 18 months, however long it takes for this correction, which is inevitable to happen, is just to ignore the noise. Try to not focus too much on macro. Eventually, there's going to be some reason, whatever that reason is going to be, that's going to start the process. It's going to be the fuse that's going to ignite the correction. When that happens, I don't know, and I have no idea what it's going to be like. But to try and listen to short-term noise is just bad. People thought that fuse is going to be lit by tariffs, right? And we had the tariff sell-off back in April, and now everything is up and then some. So if you gambled and you bought, and then you sold out just because of the tariffs, because the tariffs are going to collapse the market, you've missed out on a huge rally. So just the same way as I'm saying, don't time the market. Don't time the market also means not to try and time a correction. Because a lot of people say, well, Tom, if you're saying that the correction is inevitable, why not sell now ahead of the time? Because this might happen in 2 days or 2 months or 2 years. I don't know. And if we have another 10, 20, 30% on the S&P 500 before it actually happens, you're going to miss out. The market can be really, really irrational in the short term. The market can be irrational longer than you can be solvent, actually. So my thing to you is, if you haven't yet, learn the system, learn the process, how to operate in very, very tough times, both in the bear cycle and the bull times. Because I think that FOMO and panic, they're equally as hard for a new investor. Now, what you got to do is you have to work out a system, how to dollar cost average, what are your rules, where's your goalpost, how not to move your goalpost, how to deal with this emotionally, psychologically, logically, how to put a team around it that's going to help you and prevent you from making mistakes, how to be a part of a group that actually helps you make the right decisions. And for that, I offer, once again, a chance to join the Heroic Academy, where we have 22,000 members already learning these things, getting better at patreon.com/Tom Nash. We will give you a community of like-minded people who will guard you from making stupid decisions. We'll give you the rules. We will give you the education to make yourself a better investor. The one thing we won't give you, we will not give you stock picks. We're not going to give you buy and sell alerts, but we'll teach you the system of how to become a better long-term investor. So in the next FOMO cycle or the panic cycle, you're going to be making the right decisions. And then it's going to pay off later when everybody's saying, oh, I wish I did that back in 2022. If you had the system, you've made the right choice. And then the dividends and the profits and all this comes later. As always, thank you so much. I'll see you in the academy. If you want to join, try it out. 30 days money back guarantee, so no risk to you. Patreon.com/Tom Nash. Would love to see you there. And I'll see you next. Bye.